everyone. Welcome back to the Easy English Spark channel. I'm so thrilled to have you here with me today. I hope you're ready to join me in exploring a captivating story filled with twists, emotions, and life-changing decisions, all while enhancing your English listening and speaking skills. Today, we're diving deep into Maya's journey, a journey of love, temptation, and self-discovery. As we follow Maya's struggle between the simplicity of her life with Leo and the seductive promises of wealth and luxury from Julius, we'll also uncover valuable lessons about the power of choice, the importance of true love, and what it really means to feel special. So, let's get started and light up this incredible journey together. Chapter 1: The Happy Couple. Once upon a time, in a small village nestled between rolling hills and lush forests, there lived a humble man named Leo. He wasn't wealthy, nor did he seek fame or fortune. He was content with the simple life he had, working hard as a farmer and living in a small, cozy cottage. Leo's world was quiet and peaceful, but it was made infinitely better by the presence of his wife, Maya. She was the heart of their home, and together they shared a love that seemed to shine brighter than anything material wealth could offer. Maya was not just beautiful. She had a warmth and kindness that made her even more captivating. Her smile could light up the darkest room, and her laughter was like music to Leo's ears. Her long, dark hair cascaded down her back like a river of silk, and her eyes, deep, brown and full of life, sparkled whenever she looked at Leo. Their love story was simple, yet extraordinary. It wasn't filled with grand gestures or expensive gifts. Rather, it was built on small, meaningful moments that only the two of them could understand. Leo would come home after a long day in the fields, tired and dusty, and Maya would be there waiting for him, always ready with a warm meal and a comforting word. They never argued, never fought. They understood each other's needs without speaking a word. Their home, though modest, was filled with love. The walls were decorated with hand-carved wooden ornaments and simple, handmade quilts. They didn't have much, but they made the most of what they had. Maya would tend to the garden, growing vegetables and herbs to feed them. Leo would work the fields, planting and harvesting the crops that supported their life. Together, they lived a life of contentment, relying on each other for everything. In the evenings, when the sun began to set and painted the sky with warm shades of pink and orange, Leo and Maya would sit on the small porch outside their cottage. They would talk about their day, laugh at small jokes, and gaze at the stars, feeling as though the world was at peace. It was during these quiet moments that Leo often thought to himself, "I have everything I need. I have Maya, and that is enough for me." Though they didn't have riches or grand possessions, they had something far more valuable, a bond that was unbreakable. Maya loved Leo with all her heart. She appreciated every little thing he did for her, and she never once complained about their humble life. She admired his hard work and determination, and in her eyes, Leo was the greatest man in the world. And so, life went on, peaceful and content. The couple's love was the foundation of their world, and in their hearts, they knew they had everything they needed. They didn't need luxury or extravagance. All they needed was each other. They were a perfect match. Two souls who had found each other in this vast world and had created their own little heaven. But little did they know, this peaceful life they cherished so deeply was about to face a challenge they hadn't expected, one that would test the very strength of their love. But for now, in the glow of the evening sun, they had no worries. For that moment, they were the happiest couple in the world, and nothing could take that away from them. The chapter ends with the two of them sitting together on their porch, watching the sunset, knowing that whatever came next, they would face it together. Chapter 2. The Wealthy Neighbor's Interest. Not far from Leo and Maya's modest cottage in a large ornate house lived a man named Julius. Julius was everything that Leo was not: rich, handsome, and accustomed to a life of luxury. His home was filled with beautiful, expensive furniture, imported rugs, and intricate paintings that decorated the walls. His clothes were always the finest fabrics, tailored perfectly to his body, and he carried himself with an air of importance that made everyone in the village respect him. Julius had everything a man could ask for: wealth, status, and a life of ease. But despite all his riches, there was something he lacked. Something that stirred a longing in him whenever he looked out the window of his grand home. That something was Maya, Leo's beautiful wife. Maya's natural beauty, kindness, and the radiant way she moved about her daily life had captured Julius's attention from the moment he first saw her. He had often noticed her working in the garden, her hands gently tending to the plants with such care and attention, or walking through the village square with a basket of vegetables on her arm, greeting everyone with a smile. She didn't need jewels or fancy clothes to shine. Her beauty came from within, and it was this inner radiance that caught Julius's eye. He would often find himself watching her from the window of his grand house as she went about her chores, marveling at her grace and wondering what it would be like to have someone like her in his life. He couldn't help but feel a growing desire to possess her, not just because of her beauty, but because she was the one thing he couldn't have. One afternoon, as Maya was carrying a basket of fruit back to her home after a visit to the market, Julius decided it was time to act. He left his large, elegant home and walked across the small road that separated his estate from Leo and Maya's cottage. He knew that Leo would be working in the fields, as he always was at this time of day, so the opportunity seemed perfect. When Julius arrived at the front door of Leo and Maya's cottage, he knocked gently, his presence commanding attention. Maya, surprised to see him, opened the door with a welcoming smile, as she always did when anyone came to visit. "Good afternoon, Mrs. Leo," Julius said with a charming smile. His tone was smooth, warm, almost persuasive. "I hope I'm not disturbing you." "Oh no," Maya replied, her smile genuine. "It's always nice to see you, Julius. How can I help you?" Julius glanced at her, his eyes lingering on her for just a moment longer than necessary. He was trying to gauge her reaction, trying to see if there was any hint of interest in her eyes. She seemed so kind, so unaffected by his wealth, and that intrigued him. "I was just passing by," he began, his voice soft and friendly, "and I couldn't help but notice how lovely you look today. But I couldn't help wondering, why does your husband not buy you new clothes? You deserve better than those old dresses. You are a beautiful woman, and you should be wearing beautiful things." Maya blinked in surprise. She hadn't expected such a comment. She looked down at her simple dress, its edges worn from years of use. She had always been content with her life, never feeling the need for extravagant things. But now, Julius's words made her pause for a moment. Was it true? Was Leo's love not enough if he didn't buy her the finest clothes? "You see," Julius continued, seeing the doubt beginning to creep into her expression, "a man who truly loves his wife would want her to be the best-dressed woman in the world. He would buy you beautiful clothes, gold jewelry, and everything that would make you feel as special as you truly are. But it seems that your husband doesn't appreciate you as he should." Maya felt a slight pang in her heart. She had never questioned Leo's love for her before, but Julius's words planted a seed of doubt in her mind. Why hadn't Leo ever bought her anything like the fine gowns she had seen other women in the village wearing? Why didn't he ever buy her jewelry like the ones worn by the rich women who came to the market? Julius smiled, noticing the effect his words had on her. "I truly think you deserve better, Maya. You shouldn't have to settle for second-hand clothes when you're a woman of such beauty and grace. If you were to leave your husband, I would give you everything. I would buy you the finest dresses, the most exquisite jewelry. I would make sure you had the best of everything. You would be the most beautiful and powerful woman in all the land, and all you would have to do is say yes." Maya stood there, staring at Julius in silence for a moment. His words were sweet, and his offer seemed tempting, but deep down, she still felt loyalty to Leo, her husband. She loved him, and she knew he loved her. But now Julius's words had made her question everything. "Thank you for your kindness, Julius," she finally said, breaking the silence. "But I am happy with my life, and I love my husband. We may not have the wealth you speak of, but we have something more valuable. We have love." Julius didn't press her any further. He smiled again, his charming expression still intact. Of course, Maya. I just wanted to make sure you knew that there is a world of possibilities out there for someone as wonderful as you. You deserve the best. With that, Julius turned and walked away, leaving Maya standing in the doorway, her mind swirling with thoughts she hadn't had before. As he walked back to his grand home, Julius couldn't help but feel that he had made progress. He had planted the seed of doubt, and he would return again. For now, he would let Maya think over his words. But he knew, deep down, that she was slowly beginning to see things his way. Little did Leo and Maya know, their peaceful life was about to be disrupted in ways they couldn't imagine. And Julius, with his wealth and cunning, was only just getting started. Chapter 3. The Rich Man's Temptations. Days passed after Julius's first visit to Leo and Maya's cottage, and though Maya had tried to brush off his words, they lingered in the back of her mind. She couldn't help but remember how she had felt when Julius praised her beauty and pointed out how her clothes were worn and plain. At first, she had shrugged it off as nothing more than a passing comment from a wealthy man who was used to luxury. But as the days went by, she found herself thinking about it more and more. It was a quiet afternoon when Julius returned, just as Maya was out in the garden, tending to her plants. She had always enjoyed this time of day, when the sun was warm but not too hot, and the soft breeze made the flowers sway gently. She was lost in the rhythm of her work when she heard footsteps behind her. "Good afternoon, Maya," Julius's voice called out, smooth and warm as always. Maya looked up, startled but not entirely surprised. Julius had been coming by more frequently now, his visits always timed for when Leo was working in the fields, as he knew that Maya would be alone. She smiled politely, wiping her hands on her apron before walking over to greet him. "Good afternoon." "Julius," she said, "is there something I can help you with?" "I hope I'm not intruding," Julius replied with a charming smile. "I just thought I'd stop by and check on you. You know, I've been thinking about what I said the other day." Maya felt her heart skip a beat, and for a moment she wasn't sure how to respond. She had hoped that Julius would forget about their conversation, but it seemed he had only become more persistent. "I know it may have seemed bold," he continued, his voice soft and coaxing, "but I've been thinking about you and how much you deserve to have the best in life. And I just can't shake the feeling that you're not being treated the way a woman like you should be." Maya hesitated. "I told you, Julius, I'm happy with my life. Leo loves me and we have enough." Julius shook his head slowly, as though he were trying to help her see something she hadn't before. "You don't have to settle, Maya. You deserve so much more than this life. Leo's love is wonderful, of course, but love doesn't always mean that he understands what you truly need. A woman like you should be adorned with beautiful clothes, jewelry that sparkles in the sun, and a life of luxury. You shouldn't have to worry about your husband not being able to give you those things. Maya's hands trembled slightly as she held onto the handle of her garden tool. She looked down at her old worn dress, the fabric faded from years of use. She had never thought much of it before. After all, Leo had never made her feel like she needed more. But Julius's words made her start to question things. Was Leo's love really enough if he didn't give her the things that other women had? "You're a beautiful woman, Maya," Julius continued, stepping a little closer. His tone was sweet, persuasive. "You deserve the best of everything. If Leo truly loved you the way he should, he would give you the finest things. The most beautiful dresses, jewelry that would make you shine. But he doesn't. I would, Maya. I would give you everything you want." Maya felt a tight knot form in her stomach. She didn't want to betray Leo. He had always treated her with kindness and respect. But the idea of luxury, of being adorned in the finest clothes and jewelry, was starting to take hold of her thoughts. She looked down at her hands, calloused, from years of hard work, and for the first time, she wondered if she could have more. "I don't know," she murmured softly. "Leo is a good man. He works hard for us, and he does his best. He loves me in his own way." Julius smiled, as if he knew exactly how to move her. "I'm sure he does, Maya. But love isn't just about hard work. It's about understanding what you deserve, what you truly need. And I'm sure if Leo really loved you, he would show it by giving you these things." He paused, letting his words sink in. Maya stood silently, her mind racing. Was she asking too much of Leo? She had never wanted to burden him, never wanted to demand anything beyond their means. But Julius's offer seemed so tempting, so easy. He made her feel like she was worth more than the simple life she had chosen with Leo. "Think about it, Maya," Julius said gently. "What if I told you that you could have everything you've ever wanted? A life of luxury, a wardrobe full of fine clothes, gold jewelry, and a future where you could live without worry. You don't need to be stuck in this small life. You can have it all if you just say yes." Maya felt a wave of confusion wash over her. She didn't want to disappoint Leo, but at the same time, she couldn't deny the allure of Julius's promises. She wanted to be cherished, to feel beautiful and important. She had never imagined that wealth could be the key to that, but Julius made it seem so clear. As she stood there, torn between loyalty to her husband and the tempting offer Julius was presenting, she realized something. She didn't just want the clothes or the jewels. She wanted to feel special. She wanted to feel desired, admired. and Julius made her feel like she could be that woman. I need time to think, Maya said quietly, breaking the silence. I don't know what to believe anymore. Julius nodded, his smile never faltering. Of course, take all the time you need. But remember, I am here for you, Maya. And if you ever decide that you want more, if you ever decide that you deserve more, just say the word. I'll be waiting. With that, Julius turned and walked away, leaving Maya standing alone in her garden, the weight of his words pressing heavily on her chest. As he walked back to his grand home, Maya couldn't help but feel a pull, a desire for something more. She had always thought that love was enough, but now she wasn't so sure. The chapter ends with Maya standing in the garden, lost in thought, the sound of Julius's footsteps fading away. She wasn't certain of what the future held, but one thing was clear. Her life and her love for Leo were about to be tested in ways she never expected. Chapter 4. Maya's Doubts. The days following Julius's visit felt heavier to Maya than she cared to admit. She tried her best to go about her daily routines, tending to the garden, preparing meals for Leo, and keeping the small home as cozy as always. But in the quiet moments when she was alone, when the wind whispered through the trees or the sunlight cast long shadows across the earth, her mind kept drifting back to Julius's words. His voice, smooth and persuasive, echoed in her thoughts. A woman like you deserves more than this life. It was the same message he had repeated over and over with such certainty. The more Maya thought about it, the more it seemed like he was right. Why didn't Leo buy her new clothes? Why hadn't he ever surprised her with gold or jewels? In the village, many women, even those less beautiful than Maya, wore clothes that sparkled in the sunlight. They had jewelry that glistened, and their husbands brought them gifts that made them feel special. But Leo, her dear, hard-working Leo, never gave her any of those things. Not that she ever asked for them. He was always so practical, so focused on providing for their needs. But it was becoming clear to Maya that what she really longed for wasn't just practical. She wanted to feel admired. She wanted to feel desired. She wanted to feel like she was worthy of the very things Julius had promised her: luxury, beauty, and most of all, attention. And so, she began to question everything. She couldn't stop thinking about her worn-out dresses. They had served her well over the years, but now they seemed like a symbol of her own quiet, modest existence. Why hadn't Leo noticed that she deserved more? Why hadn't he ever bought her a beautiful gown? Or a necklace that sparkled in the sun? Was he truly the man she thought he was? Her thoughts grew cloudier with each passing day. At night, as she lay in bed, her mind would race, trying to understand why Leo never seemed to care about her longing for more. she would watch him fall, asleep beside her, his face relaxed in peaceful slumber. And for a fleeting moment, she wondered if he really understood her needs. Did he truly see her? Did he notice how her heart yearned for the things Julius had spoken of? She felt a deep ache in her chest, an ache that had never been there before. It wasn't a longing for material things, not at first anyway. It was something deeper, something that Julia's words had awakened. Maya wanted to feel important. She wanted to feel like she was a treasure to her husband, something he would go to great lengths to protect and provide for. But instead, Leo's love felt ordinary. It felt good, yes, but was it enough? Was it enough to make her feel special? To make her feel like she was truly desired? One afternoon, while Leo was out working in the fields, Maya found herself standing in front of the small wooden mirror in their bedroom, staring at her reflection. Her dress, a faded, simple piece of cloth, hung loosely around her. Her hair, which had once been so thick and vibrant, seemed dull now, and her skin, though still youthful, had begun to show the signs of years of hard work. She reached up and brushed her hair from her face, trying to smooth the strands, but it only reminded her of what she didn't have. Maya stood there, her fingers brushing over the rough fabric of her dress, wondering if things would have been different if she had lived a different life. A life where her husband would take her shopping for fine silk and gold. A life where she didn't have to worry about the practicalities of day-to-day survival. What would it feel like, she wondered, to wear clothes that shimmered and caught the light, to have her beauty recognized by others in a way that felt meaningful? As she stood there, lost in thought, the memory of Julius's smile, so full of promises and admiration, flashed through her mind. He had made her feel like she was something more than the simple woman who tended to her husband's needs. He had made her feel like she deserved to be noticed, to be treasured. It was a feeling she couldn't ignore, a feeling that stirred something deep within her. That evening, when Leo came home from the fields, tired but happy, Maya greeted him as she always did. She kissed him gently on the cheek and helped him remove his worn boots. He smiled at her, clearly grateful for the simple things she did to make his return home feel warm and comforting. But for some reason, Maya couldn't shake the thought that she deserved more than just his tired smiles and practical gestures. "Leo," she said softly, as they sat together at the small table. "For dinner, I've been thinking about something." Leo looked up at her, his brow furrowing slightly, always attentive to her every word. "What's on your mind, Maya?" She hesitated. Her heart pounded in her chest. She didn't want to hurt him, but the words were pressing at the back of her throat, demanding to be spoken. "I've been thinking about clothes," she said slowly, her voice almost trembling. "I've been thinking about how how we don't have the nice things that other people have. Other women have beautiful dresses, and their husbands buy them jewelry. I want those things too, Leo. I want to feel beautiful. I want to feel special. Leo paused, his eyes meeting hers with a look of surprise and concern. Maya, you are beautiful to me, he said softly. You always have been. I don't need to buy you fancy things to prove my love for you. You are already the most precious thing in the world to me. Maya's heart fluttered at his words, but it wasn't enough to quell the growing doubt inside her. But Leo, I want more. I want to feel like I am worth something more. I want to wear the beautiful things that others have. Things that make me feel like I'm someone important. Leo's face softened with sadness, but Maya saw a flicker of something else in his eyes. A quiet frustration. He had always done his best for her, but this was something he couldn't quite understand. I don't have much, Maya, he said, his voice gentle but firm. But I have always given you everything I can. My love, my work, my heart. That's all I have to give. Maya felt a pang of guilt. She had always known that Leo gave her his all. But now, as the weight of her desires grew heavier in her chest, she wondered if his love was enough. That night, as they lay in bed together, Maya found herself staring at the ceiling, her mind still racing. She loved Leo, of course. But was love enough? Could love alone make her feel cherished, beautiful, and special in the way that Julius had made her feel? Or was there something more, something material, that she truly needed? As Leo's steady breathing filled the room, Maya turned her back. To him, her mind consumed with doubts that had never existed before. She had never questioned Leo's love, but now it was all she could think about. Chapter 5. A Request for Clothes. The days that followed were a blur for Maya. She went through the motions of daily life, gathering vegetables from the garden, preparing meals for Leo, and keeping the house as neat and tidy as always. But her mind was far from the simplicity of her usual routine. She couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing, something that Julius had made her realize she could have. She had always believed that love was enough. But now, as she looked at her faded dress, the worn fabric that had seen so many seasons pass, doubts crept in. It wasn't just the dress, it was everything. The house, the humble meals, the lack of luxuries that others in the village seemed to take for granted. And the nagging thought that Leo never seemed to understand her need to feel special, to feel beautiful, made her heart ache. It wasn't that she didn't appreciate everything Leo had done for her. She loved him deeply, and his sacrifices had always been enough. Until now. Now she couldn't stop wondering if there was something more she deserved, something more than the simplicity they had chosen. And as she thought about it, a part of her felt guilty, as though she were betraying the very love that had brought them together. But the more she thought about it, the more she realized something. She wanted more than just his love. She wanted to feel truly seen, seen not just by Leo, but by the world around her. She wanted to feel like she was worthy of the things Julius had promised her. She wanted to wear beautiful clothes, to wear jewelry that sparkled in the sun, and to feel the admiration of others when they looked at her. She wanted to feel desired in a way she hadn't before. That afternoon, as Leo returned home from the fields, tired and dusty from a long day's work, Maya sat in the small kitchen, her hands resting in her lap, trying to calm the storm inside. She had been thinking about this moment all day, the moment she would ask Leo for something she had never asked for before, something that felt unnecessary, but deep down, she knew she couldn't hold it in much longer. Leo entered the house, greeted by the familiar warmth of their home, and immediately smiled when he saw her. "Good evening, my love," he said, setting his tools down beside the door. "I hope you've had a peaceful day." Maya smiled faintly, but her eyes weren't quite as bright as they usually were. "It's been a good day," she said softly, standing up to prepare his meal. As she moved around the kitchen, she kept her thoughts to herself, still unsure of how to say what had been building inside her for days. As the scent of dinner filled the room, Maya could feel her heart racing. She hadn't planned this moment, hadn't known exactly how to bring it up, but now it was here. She couldn't ignore it anymore. The question was simple, but the emotions behind it were anything but. Finally, as they sat down to eat, Maya couldn't wait any longer. She had to say it. Her heart pounded in her chest, her hands trembling slightly as she placed the bowl of stew in front of him. "Leo," she began, her voice low, almost hesitant. "I've been thinking." Leo looked up from his meal, concern flickering across his face. "What's on your mind, Maya?" he asked, setting his spoon down and focusing all his attention on her. He had always been so attentive to her, never rushing her, always willing to listen, even when she didn't have the right words. Maya took a deep breath, gathering the courage to say the words she had kept inside for so long. I've been thinking about my clothes," she said slowly, avoiding his gaze. "I know it may seem like a small thing, but I can't help but feel that I deserve something more. Something beautiful." Leo's expression softened, but he didn't speak immediately. He looked at her for a moment, his brow furrowing slightly in confusion. "More? Beautiful?" he repeated, his voice gentle but uncertain. "Maya, you are beautiful to me. I don't need to buy you fancy clothes to show you that." Maya's chest tightened at his words, but she couldn't stop herself from continuing. "I know, Leo. I know you think I'm beautiful, and I appreciate everything you've done for me. But I want more. I want to wear clothes that make me feel beautiful, that make me feel special. I want to be able to go to the market or even just walk outside and feel like I am worthy of admiration." Leo's face fell slightly, and for a moment there was a deep silence between them. He seemed to be processing her words, trying to understand what she was asking and why it mattered so much to her now. "Maya," he began slowly, his voice full of care. "I've always tried to provide for you. We don't have much, but I've always worked hard to give you what we need. I thought that was enough. You know I love you. You know I would give you everything I can." Maya looked at him, her eyes filled with a mixture of frustration and longing. "I know, Leo. I know you love me. But love isn't always enough, is it? Sometimes we need things beyond love. I want to feel special. I want to wear something beautiful, something that makes me feel like I'm worth something. I know it sounds silly, but I can't shake this feeling." Leo looked down at his hands, his fingers gripping the edge of his bowl. He wanted to give her what she asked for, but the reality of their situation weighed heavily on him. He knew they didn't have the means for such luxuries. He had always believed that love was enough. His love, their bond, the simple life they had built together. But now, standing in the quiet of their small home, he wasn't so sure. "I don't have much to give, Maya," Leo said, his voice thick with regret. "You know that. I've been saving for a new plow and there's not enough left to buy clothes, like you're asking for. I want to make you happy, but I don't know how. I don't want you to think that I don't love you, that I don't care." Maya's heart ached as she saw the hurt in his eyes. She hadn't meant to cause him pain, but the words had slipped out, and now she couldn't take them back. "I don't want to hurt you, Leo," she said softly, reaching out to take his hand in hers. I just want to feel like I'm worth something more. I want to feel like I'm beautiful in a way that doesn't depend on how much work I put in or how much I sacrifice. I want to feel like I'm deserving of more than just these old clothes." Leo looked into her eyes for a long moment, his expression softening. He could see the sincerity in her gaze, the deep longing that had surfaced. And in that moment, something inside him shifted. He realized that he couldn't simply dismiss her feelings, even if it meant making a sacrifice. "I may not have much money, Maya," he said quietly, "but I can try. I'll find a way to make this work. You deserve to feel special, and if buying you something beautiful will do that, then I will find a way. Maya's heart swelled with emotion. She hadn't expected him to promise her anything, let alone say he would try to make it happen. She knew it wouldn't be easy for him. Nothing ever was. But the fact that he was willing to make an effort made her feel seen in a way she hadn't felt before. "Thank you, Leo," she whispered, squeezing his hand. "I love you." Leo smiled, though his eyes were filled with uncertainty. "I love you too, Maya. I'll do what I can." As they sat together, the weight of the conversation lingered between them, but there was also a quiet understanding. Maya had made her request, and Leo had promised to try. It wasn't a perfect solution, and the road ahead would be difficult. But for the first time in a long while, Maya felt like maybe, just maybe, she was worthy of the things she had always longed for. Chapter 6. Leo's Sacrifice. The days that followed Maya's request were filled with quiet tension. After their conversation about clothes, Leo couldn't stop thinking about what Maya had said. Her longing for something more than the simplicity of their life echoed in his mind. He knew how much she loved him, but he also understood that love alone wasn't always enough to satisfy the deeper desires of the heart. Leo's heart ached as he thought about Maya's wishes. He had always believed that love, hard work, and simple comforts were all anyone could need, but now he wondered if perhaps he had been wrong. Maya wasn't asking for much, just a dress that would make her feel beautiful, something that would show her that she was special in the world's eyes. It wasn't too much, was it? But then he thought about their circumstances. The crops had been hard to harvest that year, and money was scarce. They lived frugally, barely scraping by with what they had. The fields needed work, and there was always something to repair or maintain around the house. Leo had been saving for a new plow, one that would help him work the land more efficiently and increase their yield for the next season. It was a necessary expense for their survival, but it meant that there wasn't enough left for luxuries, certainly not for beautiful dresses or gold jewelry. Leo loved Maya more than anything in the world, and the thought of seeing her unhappy with the life they had built together gnawed at his heart. He couldn't bear the thought of her feeling unnoticed, undervalued. He had always tried to make her happy in the ways that he knew how, but this was different. He had never been asked for something like this before. He had never considered that Maya might want more than just his love and their simple life. And so, Leo made a decision that would require a sacrifice greater than he had ever imagined. It was early the next morning when Leo woke up, the sun barely peeking over the horizon. He had slept little the night before, his mind racing with thoughts of how to fulfill his promise to Maya. The plow was still a necessity, but what good would it do if it meant losing the chance to make Maya happy? He couldn't let her down. Not when he knew how much this meant to her. After a quick breakfast, Leo kissed Maya on the forehead as she was still tending to the morning fire. "I'm heading into the village," he told her, his voice steady but tinged with an unspoken determination. "There are a few things I need to take care of." Maya looked up, surprised but not suspicious. "All right, Leo. Be careful out there. I'll be waiting for you." Leo nodded, his heart heavy with the weight of his decision. He didn't tell Maya where he was truly going, not yet. He didn't want her to worry, and he wasn't entirely sure how to explain what he was about to do. All he knew was that he had to do something, anything, to make her feel valued, to give her what she had asked for, even if it meant going beyond what they could afford. Leo made his way to the village, the familiar path winding through the fields. But today, the journey felt different. Every step he took felt as though it was carrying him toward something that would change his life forever. When he reached the village market, he took a deep breath, scanning the small stalls set up by various merchants. He needed to find something beautiful, something that would show Maya how much he cared. As he walked, Leo's gaze fell on a small shop at the edge of the market. The merchant was an older man who dealt in fabrics and clothes. The stall was modest, but it held a selection of fine cloths in bright, vibrant colors. Leo knew he couldn't afford much, but he hoped there might be something that would fit within the little money he had left. The merchant greeted him warmly. "Ah, Leo, how can I help you today?" he asked, his voice kind and familiar. Leo cleared his throat, trying to keep his voice steady. "I need to buy something for my wife, something beautiful. She deserves it," Leo said, his words coming out more softly than he had intended. The merchant's eyes twinkled, sensing that Leo was asking for something special. "I understand, my friend," the merchant said with a knowing smile. "You have a good heart. Let me show you what we have." The merchant led Leo to a small selection of silk and fine linen, the fabric soft and shimmering in the light. Leo ran his fingers over the cloths, feeling the smooth texture beneath his rough hands. He knew these were out of his reach, but there was one piece that caught his eye, an elegant blue silk, the color of the sky just before dusk. It was simple yet beautiful, and Leo imagined Maya in it, her beauty enhanced by the soft sheen of the fabric. "How much for this one?" Leo asked, his voice tight with anxiety. The merchant gave him a long look, then sighed. "For you, Leo, I'll offer it at a discount. But still, it is not cheap. It will cost you what you have left, and more." Leo looked down at his money pouch. He had just enough left for the new plow, but he knew what he had to do. He could feel his heart pounding in his chest as he took the money from his pouch. It was more than he had ever spent on anything for himself, but it was all worth it. It had to be. "I'll take it," Leo said, his voice firm with resolve. "I'll take it." The merchant smiled, wrapping the fabric carefully. "A wise choice, my friend. This will make your wife feel like the queen she deserves to be." Leo thanked the merchant and walked away, the fabric carefully tucked under his arm. As he made his way home, the weight of the cloth seemed both heavy and light. Heavy because of the sacrifice he had made, light because he knew it would bring Maya joy. When he arrived home, Maya was waiting for him, her face lighting up when she saw him approaching. "Leo, you're back early," she said, her voice filled with surprise. Leo smiled, though it didn't quite reach his eyes. "I had to make a stop," he said, holding out the wrapped fabric to her. "I've brought you something. Something beautiful. Just for you." Maya's eyes widened as she took the cloth from him, unwrapping it carefully. When she saw the silk, her breath caught in her throat. It was the most beautiful fabric she had ever seen. "Leo, this is too much. You shouldn't have—" But Leo stopped her, his hand gently touching hers. "You deserve it, Maya. You deserve to feel beautiful. I want you to have it." Maya looked at him, her eyes brimming with emotion. She didn't know what to say, didn't know how to express the gratitude and love she felt in her heart. Leo had made a sacrifice for her. He had given up something important to make her feel special, and she could see the quiet pride in his eyes as he stood there, waiting for her reaction. She embraced him, her heart swelling with love and appreciation. "Thank you, Leo. I don't know how to thank you for this. It's more than I ever expected." Leo held her tightly, his voice soft but steady. "You don't have to thank me, Maya. You're worth it." That evening, as Maya carefully sewed the fabric into a beautiful new dress, she realized something. This wasn't just about the clothes. It was about Leo's love, his sacrifice, and his willingness to do whatever it took to make her feel special. She had always known that Leo loved her, but in that moment, she understood just how much he was willing to give for her happiness. And as she put on the dress later that evening, feeling the soft silk against her skin, she knew one thing for sure. No amount of wealth or luxury could ever compare to the love they shared. Chapter 7. A Desire for Gold. The days following the arrival of the beautiful blue silk dress were filled with a quiet, renewed sense of happiness. Maya wore the dress often, and each time she did, she felt like a new woman, light, elegant, and admired. Leo's sacrifice had touched her deeply, and she felt cherished in a way she hadn't thought possible. Yet even with the beautiful silk fabric draped around her, something inside Maya stirred, a desire for something more. The more she wore the dress, the more she became aware of the other women in the village. Their husbands brought them gold, rings, sparkling necklaces, and other fine pieces of jewelry that gleamed in the sunlight. Maya would catch glimpses of the gold adorning their necks and fingers when she passed by, and a pang of longing would tighten in her chest. It wasn't just the dresses or the fine silk that made those women shine. It was the gold, the way the sun caught the light off the precious stones, the way it shimmered with wealth and power. Maya knew Leo could never afford such things. He had worked so hard to provide for them, but gold was far out of reach. And yet, a part of her, one that had been awakened by Julius's words and fueled by the luxury she had just tasted, yearned for that same radiance, that sense of being worthy of the finest things life could offer. She had always been content with their simple life, but now she couldn't help but wonder what it would be like to wear gold, real gold, not just the simple dress Leo had bought her with such sacrifice. The seed of desire was planted deep inside her heart, and it began to grow stronger with each passing day. She found herself thinking about it constantly, imagining the feel of gold against her skin, sparkling with beauty and richness. She began to wonder why Leo hadn't ever given her something like that. Why hadn't he bought her jewelry? He had worked so hard, he had given so much, yet he had never offered her anything beyond the necessities. That afternoon, after a long day of preparing meals and tending to the garden, Maya was sitting outside on the porch when she heard footsteps approaching. She turned her head and saw Julius walking toward her, his usual charming smile in place. "Good afternoon, Maya," he said, his voice warm and inviting. "Good afternoon, Julius," Maya replied, trying her best to mask the restlessness that had been growing inside her. She didn't want to feel drawn to his words, but they always seemed to linger in her thoughts. "I've been thinking about you," Julius continued, his eyes twinkling. "You've been looking even more beautiful than usual lately, but I can't help but notice. Where's your jewelry? A woman like you deserves to wear gold, something that catches the light and shows off your true beauty." Maya froze. She hadn't realized how much she had been thinking about jewelry until Julius mentioned it aloud. Her hand instinctively went to her neck, where there was nothing but her simple dress. She swallowed hard, unsure of how to respond. "I've seen the other women in the village," Julius went on, his voice smooth and persuasive. "They wear necklaces, rings and bracelets, jewelry that sparkles and shows that they are valued. You deserve that too, Maya. You deserve to feel like you are worth something more than just hard work and simplicity." Maya felt a familiar ache in her chest. She had tried so hard to ignore it, to convince herself that she didn't need these things, that Leo's love and their simple life were enough. But Julius's words were like a magnet, pulling her deeper into a place she hadn't been before. She wanted to feel beautiful, not just for Leo, but for herself. She wanted to be admired, to be noticed in the same way those other women were. Julius noticed the change in her expression and stepped a little closer, his voice lowering to a gentle, almost secretive tone. "If you were to leave Leo and come with me," he said, his words almost a whisper, "I would give you everything you've ever wanted. I would buy you gold, necklaces, rings, bracelets, everything you could dream of. You wouldn't have to worry about working hard every day. You would live a life of luxury, where you could wear gold that would make you feel like a queen." Maya's heart raced as she listened to him. She hadn't expected such an offer, and yet it felt like the solution to everything she had been longing for. Gold, the sparkle, the beauty, the recognition. But then a part of her, somewhere deep inside, felt a jolt of guilt. She loved Leo. She had promised him that they would always be together, no matter what. She had never wanted anything more than to be his partner, to share in the simple, honest life they had built together. But now that desire for gold, for beauty and admiration, was clouding her judgment. "Julius," she began, her voice trembling. "I don't know. I love Leo. He's done so much for me and he's always treated me with kindness. But—" She paused, unsure of what to say next. Julius, sensing her hesitation, took another step closer. "You don't have to settle for just love, Maya. Love is beautiful, yes, but it's not enough if you don't feel valued in the world. You deserve more. You deserve to have the finest things, to be seen as someone of importance." Maya felt her resolve beginning to waver. His words had struck a chord deep within her. She wanted the gold. She wanted the luxury. She wanted to be seen, to be valued beyond the simple life she had lived for so long. Julius made it sound so easy. All she had to do was say yes. She bit her lip, her hands shaking slightly as she gripped the railing of the porch. The desire for gold was strong now, almost overpowering. She could picture it. Gold necklaces, rings on her fingers, a life where she was admired and desired, no longer just a simple woman who worked the land. But then she thought of Leo. She thought of the sacrifices he had made for her, how hard he worked every day just to give her what he could. His love, though simple, had been all she ever needed. How could she betray him for something as fleeting as gold? Maya looked down, torn between the promise of a life filled with gold and the love of the man who had always been by her side. She didn't want to make a decision based on something so superficial. She didn't want to let this desire for luxury cloud her love for Leo. Julius stood there, waiting for her response, his eyes eager, as if he already knew the answer. Maya looked up at him, her voice trembling as she spoke. "I don't know if I can leave Leo. He's been good to me and I love him. But I can't help but think about the gold, Julius, the life you offer. I don't know if I'm strong enough to turn away from that. Julius smiled softly, sensing her weakness. Take your time, Maya. You deserve to feel valued, to wear gold, and live a life of luxury. I will be here whenever you're ready. As he turned and walked away, Maya stood frozen in place, her heart pounding in her chest. She couldn't ignore the desire for gold that had taken root inside her, but at the same time, she couldn't ignore the love she had for Leo. The path ahead seemed uncertain, and Maya knew she had a choice to make, one that would change the course of her life forever. As the evening sun dipped below the horizon, Maya sat on the porch, the weight of her thoughts heavy on her shoulders. The desire for gold still lingered, but deep down, she knew she had to decide whether she wanted the luxury of gold or the love that had always been her true treasure. Chapter 8. The Rich Man's New Offer. The days following Julius's visit felt like a blur of confusion and inner turmoil for Maya. She had spent countless hours reflecting on the conversation they'd had, her thoughts consumed by the allure of wealth, gold, and the luxurious life that Julius had promised her. The dress Leo had bought for her still made her feel special, but it wasn't enough anymore. The gold, the rings, necklaces, and shimmering bracelets kept dancing in her mind, mocking her for her simplicity. Maya had tried to push these thoughts aside. She had tried to remind herself of how much she loved Leo, how much he had sacrificed for her. His love, after all, was genuine, and he had always treated her with respect and kindness. But every time she passed by a woman wearing gold, or every time she saw the other villagers flaunting their luxurious possessions, the desire grew stronger. She wanted to feel like she mattered, like she was someone of importance in the world. She wanted to feel admired, and Julius, with his charming smile and promises of a life filled with wealth, had made her question everything she once believed. It was on one such afternoon when Maya was tending to the garden, lost in thought, that she heard familiar footsteps approaching. Her heart skipped a beat before she even turned to look. Julius. He had been coming by more frequently lately, each time with the same smooth words, the same easy charm. Every time he found a way to make her doubt her life with Leo, to make her long for something beyond their simple existence. "Good afternoon, Maya," Julius said, his voice as rich and inviting as ever. He flashed her a warm, knowing smile. "I was thinking about you again." Maya forced herself to smile, though her heart raced with uncertainty. "Good afternoon, Julius," she replied, wiping her hands on her apron. "What brings you by today?" Julius leaned casually against the wooden fence, looking at her with eyes that seemed to see right through her. He knew exactly what he was doing, and she could feel the pull of his words already. "I've been thinking about what we talked about the other day," Julius began, his tone gentle, almost soothing. "You deserve more, Maya. You deserve everything this world can offer. You clothes, gold, jewels, but most of all, you deserve to be happy, truly happy." Maya's heart fluttered at his words. She had spent so much time thinking about them, wondering if she could ever have what he was offering, but she still felt the weight of her love for Leo, the man who had always been there for her, who had worked so hard to provide for her, even if he couldn't give her the riches that Julius had. Still, she couldn't deny that Julius's words made her want something more. "I don't know," Maya said quietly, her gaze drifting to the ground. "Leo has done so much for me. He loves me in his own way, and that's enough, isn't it?" Julius stepped closer, his voice lowering to a more intimate, persuasive whisper. "Love is wonderful, Maya, but love doesn't buy you gold. Love doesn't make you feel like the queen you deserve to be. Love doesn't give you the things that make other people look at you with envy. Leo can't give you those things. No matter how hard he works. But I can." Maya swallowed hard, her breath catching in her throat. She wanted to believe that love was enough. But deep down, she felt the growing temptation of Julius's words. She could imagine herself wearing gold, dressed in the finest silks, walking through the village, the envy of every woman around. It was a life that seemed so distant from the one she had with Leo, a life that glittered with promise. "You deserve to have everything, Maya," Julius continued, his voice smooth and confident. "You don't have to live this life of hard work and sacrifice. You can have everything you've ever dreamed of. A beautiful home, jewels that sparkle in the sunlight, a life where you are treated like royalty." Maya stood still, her heart pounding in her chest. Julius was so convincing, so certain of what he was offering. She could feel herself drawn to him, to the idea of a life where she was admired, where she had everything she had ever wanted. Leo had given her so much, but was that enough? Was it enough to be loved without the admiration of the world? "You see," Julius said, his smile widening, "I want to offer you a chance to live the life you deserve. You don't have to wait for Leo to realize what you need. You don't have to settle for his love alone. I can give you more. Gold, jewels, a future filled with luxury. All you have to do is say yes, and it will all be yours." Maya's breath caught in her throat as she felt the pull of his words. She had never imagined leaving Leo, never thought she could betray him for something so material. But the thought of living a life of luxury, of being the envy of every woman around her, felt intoxicating. For the first time, She wondered if she had been settling for less than she deserved. "I can give you everything," Julius repeated, his tone almost a promise. "All you have to do is leave Leo. You don't have to live like this anymore. You can have it all, Maya. The gold, the jewels, the life you've always dreamed of." Maya's heart raced, torn between the life she had with Leo, the man who had always been there for her, who loved her deeply, and the life Julius was offering her. A life of wealth, of admiration, of things she had never even dared to dream of. Could she really give up everything for a chance at something more? Could she leave Leo, the man who had sacrificed so much for her, for a life of luxury? The silence between them stretched, and for a long moment, Maya couldn't bring herself to speak. Her heart was heavy with the weight of the decision she knew she would have to make. She didn't want to hurt Leo, didn't want to betray the love they had built together. But part of her, the part that had longed for gold, for admiration, for a life of luxury, was beginning to wonder if this was her chance to live a different life, one that she had never even imagined. Julius stepped closer, his voice softening, as he placed a hand gently on her arm. "Take your time, Maya. I'll be here when you're ready. But don't wait too long. A life of gold, a life of luxury, is waiting for you. All you have to do is make the choice." Maya stood there, frozen in place, her mind spinning with conflicting emotions. She wanted the gold, the jewels, the admiration, but she didn't want to lose the love of the man who had stood by her through everything. She didn't want to betray Leo. She loved him. And yet Julius's offer, the promise of something more, was so tempting. Julius gave her one last look, his smile both reassuring and persuasive. "Think about it, Maya. The life you want is just a choice away." With that, he turned and walked away, leaving Maya standing alone in the garden, her heart heavy with the weight of the decision she knew she would have to make. As the evening sun began to set, casting long shadows across the land, Maya stood still, her thoughts consumed by the choice ahead. Would she choose love, or would she choose a life of gold? Only time would tell. Chapter 9. A Miracle Request. The days seemed to stretch on endlessly for Maya. Each morning she woke with the weight of the decision she had to make, the conflict between love and desire gnawing at her every thought. Julius's words echoed, in her mind, persistent and persuasive, tempting her with promises of gold, jewels, and a life of luxury that she had never imagined. The offer hung in the air like a heavy, tantalizing perfume, and every time she saw the other women in the village adorned in their fine clothes and sparkling jewels, the longing inside her grew stronger. But there was still Leo, her Leo, who loved her in his quiet, steadfast way. He had always worked hard for their simple life, giving her what he could, even when times were tough. She had never questioned his love before, but now, with Julius's offer stirring her desires, she wasn't so sure. She longed for something more, something that made her feel noticed, cherished in a way that went beyond the daily grind of hard work and sacrifice. It was one evening, as Maya sat in the small garden of their home, that the internal battle within her reached its peak. Leo had gone out to the fields once again, and Maya was left alone with her thoughts. The sun was beginning to dip below the horizon, casting a golden glow across the land. The peace of the moment was shattered by the arrival of Julius. He approached, as he always did, with that effortless charm, that easy smile that always seemed to put her at ease, if only for a moment. She couldn't help but feel a pull toward him, despite the conflict that tore at her heart. She had tried to ignore him, to push his words aside, but they lingered, persistent, like a shadow that wouldn't leave. "Good evening, Maya," Julius greeted, his voice smooth and filled with a quiet confidence. "Good evening, Julius," she replied, her voice softer than she intended. She had hoped for some peace tonight, some clarity, but she could feel his presence stirring her restless thoughts once again. Julius leaned casually against the garden fence, his eyes scanning her face, as though trying to read her soul. "I can see it in your eyes, Maya. You're torn. I can sense the conflict inside you. You've been thinking about what we talked about, haven't you?" Maya didn't respond immediately. She had always prided herself on her ability to keep her feelings hidden, to keep her thoughts to herself. But tonight, the truth felt too heavy to ignore. She nodded slowly, her heart beating a little faster. "Yes," she admitted quietly. "I've been thinking about it a lot, about what you said, about the life you're offering me." Julius smiled knowingly, stepping a little closer, as if to draw her in further. "You don't have to keep living like this, Maya. You don't have to work day after day, living in a home that's too small, too humble. You don't have to wear simple clothes and hide in the shadows of the other women who have everything you deserve." Maya shifted uncomfortably. His words, though soft and enticing, still felt like a betrayal to everything she had once believed. She had always found comfort in their simplicity. But now the idea of something more, a life where she could shine, where she could be admired, was so alluring. Could she really turn away from it? "I don't want to hurt Leo," Maya said, softly, her voice barely above a whisper. "He's done so much for me. He loves me in his way, and I don't want to betray him." Julius stepped closer, his eyes locking onto hers, his voice lower now, almost intimate. "You won't be betraying him, Maya. You will simply be choosing to live for yourself, to choose happiness over hardship. You can still love Leo, but you deserve more. You deserve to feel like a queen, not just the hard-working wife of a farmer. Maya's heart pounded in her chest, her mind spinning. She thought of Leo, of the life they had built together. It had never been perfect, but it had been theirs. She thought of the simple joy they shared when they sat together at the end of the day, when they smiled at each other over their humble meals. But now, as Julius's words settled deeper into her mind, she began to wonder, could she have both? Could she have the love of Leo and the luxury, the admiration that Julius promised? Julius, sensing her hesitation, placed a hand gently on her arm, his touch light but firm. You don't have to choose one or the other, Maya. You can have it all. You can have Leo's love and still live the life you've always dreamed of. You just have to make the choice. You just have to want it. Maya swallowed hard, the weight of his words pressing down on her. She wanted to be loved, yes, but she also wanted to be seen. She wanted to be more than just a hard-working wife. She wanted to be cherished, to be the center of someone's world. And Leo, despite all his love and sacrifice, had never been able to give her that. What if I could give you something more than gold, more than jewels? Julius's voice interrupted her thoughts, and Maya looked up, startled. He was looking at her with a mix of patience and determination, as if he had something else to offer her. Maya frowned, confused. More than gold? What do you mean? Julius's smile widened, and there was a hint of mystery in his eyes. I know you've been asking yourself deep down whether Leo could ever really give you everything you need. I can help you, Maya. I can give you what you've been missing. A miracle, if you will. Maya's brow furrowed in confusion. A miracle? She repeated, skeptical. What kind of miracle are you talking about? Julius leaned in, his voice dropping to a soft whisper. What if I told you that, with just a little bit of help from me, you could have everything you desire? What if I told you that if you truly loved me, I could make all your wishes come true? I could make Leo give you everything you've ever wanted. Gold, jewels, wealth beyond your wildest dreams. All it takes is your trust. All it takes is you choosing me, choosing the life I offer. Maya's heart raced as his words sunk in. She had heard rumors of powerful men who could perform miracles, of promises that seemed too good to be true. But Julius seemed so confident, so certain of what he could offer her. Could he really make all her dreams come true? Could he really make Leo give her everything she had longed for? I don't know, Maya whispered, her voice trembling with uncertainty. I don't know if I can trust you. Julius smiled again, his eyes softening. You don't have to trust me right away. Just think about it. The life you want is within reach, Maya. All it takes is the willingness to choose it. And if you want, I can show you how. Maya stood there, frozen in place, as the evening air grew cooler around her. She didn't know what to think, didn't know what to believe. The promise of wealth and luxury was so enticing, but what would it cost her? Would it cost her love? Would it cost her the life she had shared with Leo? Julius, seeing her hesitation, took a step back. Take your time, Maya. I'm here whenever you're ready. But remember, you deserve to be more than just the hard-working wife of a farmer. You deserve to shine. As he turned to leave, Maya stood motionless, her heart heavy with the weight of his words. She didn't know what the future held, but she knew one thing for sure. Her decision would change everything. Would she choose the life Julius promised her, a life of gold and luxury? Or would she remain with Leo, trusting in the love they had, built together, no matter how simple it was? As the last light of the day faded into twilight, Maya was left alone with her thoughts, the world around her growing dark, just like the uncertainty in her heart. Chapter 10. A Magical Solution. The days following Julius's visit were filled with deep uncertainty and restlessness for Maya. Every waking moment she wrestled with herself, caught between two worlds, the love and simplicity she shared with Leo, and the seductive promise of luxury and admiration that Julius offered her. The choice seemed impossible. She loved Leo, of that she was sure. But the allure of gold, of the life Julius promised, stirred a longing in her heart that she hadn't realized was so deep. Maya spent hours walking through the quiet fields, trying to clear her mind. The landscape stretched out before her in all its simplicity, the scent of the earth and the fresh air filling her lungs. It was a peaceful place, Leo's world, her world, but it was no longer enough. She felt restless. The thought of gold, fine clothes, and jewels haunted her dreams. Julius's voice echoed in her mind, his promise of a life that was bigger, more brilliant, filled with the admiration she so desperately craved. One evening, after a long day of work in the fields, Maya sat in their small cottage, watching the light of the setting sun filter through the window. Leo was out again, tending to the fields, and for the first time in a long while, Maya felt utterly alone. Her heart ached with confusion. She knew she loved Leo, but she didn't know if that love was enough to silence the pull of everything Julius had offered. That's when she heard it, the soft sound of footsteps approaching. She didn't need to turn around to know who it was. Julius. He walked in with that familiar air of quiet confidence, the same smooth smile on his face that had so often made her question her own decisions. Maya didn't know if she was relieved or resentful to see him. What did he want this time? Would his words lure her even further into his promises? Maya, Julius greeted, his voice warm but laden with intent. I've been thinking about you again. She stood up slowly, still, unsure of what to feel. You've been coming by more often, she said, trying to sound calm despite the whirlwind inside her. What is it that you want from me? Julius stepped closer, his eyes never leaving hers, as if he could read every thought that passed through her mind. I want to help you, he said softly. I've been thinking about how torn you are. You're struggling, and I can see that. You love Leo, but you want more. You want more than a life of hard work and simple love. I understand that, Maya. Maya couldn't hide the pain that flickered across her face. I don't know what I want anymore, she confessed, her voice trembling. I love Leo, but I want something more. I want to be more than just the woman who works in the fields. I want to feel special, admired. I want gold, jewels. I want to be the center of someone's world. Julius smiled, a look of understanding in his eyes. I can give you that, he said quietly. I can give you everything you've ever wanted. You don't need to settle for a life of simple love. There's a way, Maya. There's a way to have it all. Maya felt a chill run down her spine as his words sank in. She knew he had been offering her a life of luxury, but now something about his tone, the way he said it, felt different. What do you mean? She asked, her curiosity piqued despite her better judgment. Julius stepped even closer, his voice lowering as if he were sharing a secret. I know of a way, he began, his eyes glinting with a strange intensity. A way to get everything you desire. A way to have Leo's love and the life you dream of. It's simple, really. Simple, but powerful. I can give you a miracle, Maya. Maya frowned, uncertain of what he was saying. A miracle? She repeated, her voice laced with skepticism. What do you mean? I don't believe in such things. Julius's smile remained calm and knowing. You don't need to believe in it for it to work. I can show you the way, Maya. I can make Leo give you everything you've ever wanted. Gold, jewels, a life filled with luxury. All you have to do is trust me. Maya took a step back, her heart racing with a mix of fear and excitement. What do you mean? How can you make Leo do something like that? He's never shown any interest in that kind of life. Julius's expression softened, and he placed a hand gently on her arm, guiding her back toward the table. It's simple, he repeated. I have a way, a power, to make things happen. I can make Leo give you what you want. You won't have to ask. You won't have to beg. It will just happen as if by magic. Maya stared at him, the words sinking in slowly. Could this really be true? Was it possible to make Leo change? To make him see her differently? To make him give her the gold, the jewels, the life she had always dreamed of but never thought possible? But why would Leo give me everything I want? Maya asked, her voice barely a whisper. Why would he change so suddenly? Julius's smile widened, his gaze steady and assured. Because when a man truly loves a woman, he will do anything for her. Anything. And all it takes, Maya, is a little push, a little nudge in the right direction. I can make him see what he has been blind to. I can make him want to give you everything. I can make him give you the gold, the jewels, the life you desire. All you have to do is say yes. All you have to do is trust me. Maya stood there, frozen in place. Her mind raced. She had always believed in hard work and patience. She had always believed that love, in its purest form, was enough. But now Julius was offering her something she hadn't even dared to imagine. A life of wealth, a life of luxury, and all it took was a simple agreement. A miracle. She looked up at him, uncertainty clouding her thoughts. And what will this miracle cost me? She asked, her voice shaking with both fear and curiosity. What do I have to give in return? Julius's eyes darkened slightly, his expression shifting to something more serious, almost intense. It will cost you nothing but your trust, Maya. Trust in me, and in the power I hold. That's all. A simple choice, really. Trust me, and I will give you everything you desire. Maya's heart raced. The temptation was overwhelming. A life of luxury, gold, jewels, everything she had ever dreamed of. And Leo's love, still by her side, but enhanced by this new power. Could it be real? Could it really be that simple? She stood there, torn between the life she had known, the life of hard work and simplicity, and the life Julius was promising her, a life of power, wealth, and admiration. Could she really turn away from it? Julius waited silently, his gaze fixed on her, patient and knowing. It was as if he already knew what she would decide. Maya took a deep breath, her mind spinning with the weight of the decision. She wanted more. She wanted it all. And Julius had promised her a way to have it. A way to make everything come true. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Maya spoke, her voice quiet but filled with a sense of resolve. "All right, Julius," she said, her words trembling with uncertainty, but also with the hope of something more. "I'll trust you. I'll take the miracle." Julius's smile returned, brighter than ever. "You won't regret it, Maya. You'll have everything you've ever wanted. A life filled with gold, jewels, and a love that will shine brighter than ever before. Maya's heart raced as the weight of her decision settled on her. She had made her choice. A life of luxury awaited her, just one step away. And now there was no turning back. Chapter 11. The Final Confrontation. The days that followed Maya's decision to trust Julius felt like a strange dream, both exhilarating and terrifying. A part of her was thrilled by the thought of the life he promised her: gold, jewels, and a world where she was admired and adored. Another part of her, though, felt unsettled. Her love for Leo, the man who had always been by her side, weighed heavily on her heart. He deserved more than this. He deserved more than a wife torn between him and the allure of a life of luxury. But the choice had been made. She had agreed to Julius's plan, to the promise of a miracle. She had told herself that this was the only way to have everything she wanted. She could have Leo's love and the life she longed for. A life where she was valued and seen as more than just a hard-working wife. And now the time had come. It was a cool evening when Julius arrived, his face as confident and smooth as ever. He had promised her that everything would fall into place once she made the decision, that the miracle would work in ways she couldn't yet comprehend. Maya wasn't sure what to expect, but her heart pounded as she stood in the garden, waiting for him. "Good evening, Maya," Julius greeted, stepping forward with that familiar charm, the kind that had drawn her to him in the first place. His presence seemed to fill the space between them. "Good evening, Julius," Maya replied, her voice calm but unsure. The thrill of her choice was still there, but now a sense of dread lingered, an uneasy feeling that she couldn't quite shake. "You've made the right choice," Julius said smoothly, his eyes scanning her face. "Trust me, Maya. This will be the turning point of your life. I'll give you everything you desire." Maya swallowed hard, her mind swirling with thoughts of Leo, of his love, his sacrifices. She couldn't escape the guilt gnawing at her. But she had chosen this path. She had made the decision to seek more than just love. "I'm ready," Maya said, her voice barely above a whisper. Her heart was heavy, but she couldn't turn back now. Julius smiled, his expression one of quiet satisfaction. He took a step closer to her, his presence overwhelming. "You will have everything you've ever dreamed of, Maya. Trust in me." And with that, he placed his hand gently on her arm. Maya felt a strange sensation, as if a ripple had passed through her, a subtle shift in the air between them. For a moment, she felt a surge of power, of possibility, like the world was opening up to her. Her heart beat faster as she imagined the life that lay ahead. The gold, the jewels, the admiration. It was all so close now. But as the moment stretched on, something unexpected happened. A voice, Leo's voice, echoed in her mind. His voice, full of love, full of sincerity. Maya, you are the most precious thing in the world to me. I don't need to give you gold or jewels to prove that. I just want to make you happy. The words were like a slap in the face, snapping her out of the fog that had clouded her judgment. Maya suddenly felt cold, the weight of her decision pressing down on her. She had chosen gold over love, admiration over loyalty. And now, in the silence that followed Julius's touch, she realized that she had been wrong. Maya, Julius said, breaking the silence, his voice softer now, almost coaxing. Don't you want this? Don't you want to have it all? Leo can't give you what I can. He never will. You don't have to choose between love and wealth. You can have both. You just need to trust me. Maya pulled back, her heart racing. She looked at Julius, his eyes full of certainty. But there was something in his gaze now, something dark and manipulative. It was as if he was trying to bend her will, to make her believe that his version of happiness was the only way. She took a deep breath, her thoughts racing. She had been so caught up in the promises of luxury, the dreams of gold and jewels, that she had forgotten the most important thing of all: love. Leo's love, unwavering and pure. Leo had always worked hard for their happiness, for their future. He had given her everything he could, even when it wasn't enough in the eyes of others. And now, she was standing here, on the edge of a choice that would forever change her life. I can't, Maya said, her voice firm, her eyes locking with Julius's. I can't do this. I can't turn away from Leo. He has always been there for me, and I've been blind to his love. I can't betray him for wealth, for gold. I don't need those things. I just need him. Julius's smile faltered for a brief moment, and in that moment, Maya saw something in his eyes, a flash of anger, of frustration. But it was quickly masked by a cold, calculating look. He stepped back, his posture straightening. You don't know what you're giving up, he said, his voice, colder now, almost venomous. You think love will be enough? You think Leo will ever give you what you truly want? He won't, and you'll regret this decision. But it will be too late. Maya stood her ground, her heart pounding but resolute. I've made my choice. Julius, I choose Leo. I choose love over gold, simplicity over luxury, and I will not let you manipulate me into believing otherwise. Julius's eyes narrowed, and for a moment, Maya wondered if he would lash out. But instead, he turned away, his face a mask of cold indifference. "Very well, Maya," he said, his voice quiet but filled with an unsettling calm. "You may have chosen love, but love won't give you everything you want. I hope you'll find happiness in your decision, but don't come running to me when you realize the mistake you've made." With that, Julius walked away, his footsteps echoing in the quiet evening air. Maya stood still, her chest heaving with the weight of her choice. She had chosen Leo, and for the first time in what felt like forever, she felt a sense of peace settle over her. She had made the right choice, the right decision for her heart. As the last light of day faded into the twilight, Maya took a deep breath and turned toward the fields. Leo would be home soon, tired from his long day of work, but he would be home. And when he arrived, she would tell him everything. She would tell him that she had chosen him, chosen his love, his warmth, his loyalty, over the empty promises of gold and jewels. She would show him that she had always known, deep down, that the life they had built together was enough. And as she waited for him, a calm certainty filled her heart. She had made the right choice. And now, it was time to face the future together, with Leo, with love, and with the knowledge that true happiness could never be bought. It was something that had to be earned, and Maya had already earned it. Great work today. Every moment you spend practicing brings you closer to mastering your English listening and speaking skills. Remember, progress comes with patience and consistency. If this story inspired you or helped you in your learning journey, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Easy English Spark channel for more lessons and stories. Keep listening, keep speaking, and keep believing in your growth. I'll see you in the next video. Take care and keep shining.